Today in the studio, I have 4 guests who are, I'm going to just share this, they are members of, and one of the staff members from the Carriage House. And I'm going to introduce them to you. We're going to do some serious talk about mental health and mental illness. So can I start off with a brief introduction? Maybe I can start off with a brief introduction. Well, I'm going to start with Gary Hogle. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Great.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for offering us this opportunity.
Yes.
We're really looking forward to it.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Tim Bowman. Chris Bowman. Got to pull that in. Chris Bowman, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
And thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And tell me your name again now.
It's Cassandra Kirsch.
Cassandra Kirsch. Know what I did with my notes here. And their support person that's here for them.
I'm Diane Hagan.
And Diane Hagan. Thank you guys for coming in. I can't believe I'm so organized, so dysfunctionally organized. How about that? So I want to start with, again, thanking you guys for coming in. But my objective with this is, and I'll go down eventually tell you why, is to shed some light on mental illness and mental health. And I want to start with a working definition for myself and for the audience. And it's not by any means a professional definition as a
psychiatrist.
There you go. Thank you, Tim. The psychiatrist will say, but it's real to me. Okay, so here it is. That mental health and mental illness are increasingly being used as together, as if they mean the same thing, but they don't mean the same thing. Everyone has mental health, just like they have health. But mental health is... I'm going to read a definition, but then I want to tell you what I actually think. It's a state of being, of well-being, in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her own community. That's a mouthful right there. Here it is simplified. It just simply means a state of mind that allows you to cope with the endless challenges of life that come your way. And that state of mind can be eroded or turned upside down or supported by risk factors or supported by protective factors. Okay, that is a very succinct definition of mental health. Okay, mental illness, on the other term, is referred to as having a diagnosis of depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, eating disorders, schizophrenia, and or self-injurious behaviors. Does anybody else want to add to that? What are your thoughts? Or is that pretty much where what you guys are thinking as well? Okay, so that's where I see it going. And so with mental, as we step into this, these individuals have very clear stories. And would you say it's about mental health, mental illness? What would you guys say?
Life, just life.
Okay, and pull that in close. So when you say to share your story about life, tell me, what does that mean to you in your own terms?
Well, for me, I was first diagnosed when I was in the Navy. Actually, when I got out of the Navy, I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Well, actually, it was schizoaffective disorder is what they gave, the diagnosis they gave me. And when I got out of the military, a few years later, after I completed my master's degree, I had some problems, and it came to be that I knew that there's mental health problems.
Okay.
And I was diagnosed several times, and they changed my diagnosis from schizoaffective disorder to bipolar disorder, and then through time and space of other times I was diagnosed and treated, but it was more what I could get from them than it was from what they could get from me. So
can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, I actually didn't know anything about the Carriage House until 2001.
Okay.
But I was diagnosed in 1994 with schizoaffective disorder. And the Carriage House has been a real blessing to me. Thank God for the Carriage House, I say, because I can go there anytime, do as little or as much as I want. Mm-hmm. And the Carriage House is just a place that people with mental illness go to give meaning to their life. Mm-hmm. You know, it's mental illness is a difficult thing to live with, and the stigma is really bad. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, guys, I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but what is, and each of you, just jump right in, what has been your experiences with, as you're dealing with your disorders, what's your support system? Has there been a support system that helps you to, go through, or advocates? What's been your support system? Mm-hmm.
Hi. Yeah. My support system is basically the Carriage House, mm-hmm. And my parents. I had mental health issues ever since I was a young child, but I didn't know that's what it was until I was diagnosed later in my mid-30s.
Did your parents realize when you were young what was going on?
They knew something was wrong. Well, not so much wrong, but they knew that there was difficulties. I was struggling to do certain things, so they would try to take me to a doctor, and everybody would tell them, "Oh no, she's just a typical, teenager or something like that. It's just a phase." So my mom never really, had anybody to really guide her, and helping me get treatment. Okay. So. When I was up here, when I moved to Fort Wayne, because my family moved here, I had some breakdowns and some psychotic episodes and things like that, suicide attempts. And then I ended up at the local mental health treatment place. Okay. And that's a whole other mouthful right there.
All right. Okay.
I ended up at the Carriage House, and I've just blossomed.
You're growing.
Yeah, I blossomed into this
awesome
creation that I didn't know I was capable of doing. And so I learned that from people like Chris and Gary and Diane, and we're just a really tight-knit
community, huh?
Yeah. Mm.
So it sounds like your support system is the Carriage House.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much my whole life, and that's why I would like to do these types of things, because there are people out there struggling in the community that don't know where to go or don't have support, and it is out there.
Right. There's support out there. Yeah. Gary, you actually can you talk about who you are and your input with these?
I was a staff member at the Carriage House for a little under 5 years, and then I retired. I was able to retire, and actually I enjoyed the work so much, and I missed it deeply. So now, about a few months ago, I decided to come back and work 1 day a week on a part-time basis. And I want to just go back to a point you'd mentioned earlier about mental health and mental illness, because one of the things, one of the ways that I would define mental health is, or a big component of mental health, is a sense of belonging, feeling like you're connected to yourself and to other people, to actually to the world around you, that sense of connection. And one of the things that I think the Carriage House does really well, and one of our philosophies, is to develop a sense of community and to develop a sense of community and belonging that really helps people cope with mental illness. And so that's one of those foundational things that I think we all need, but particularly somebody struggling with mental illness, you kind of lose your support system sometimes. You lose, it's very easy to kind of get, kind of lose your sense of yourself and your priorities and what you want to do with your life. And the Carriage House really helps bring us all together around that sense of belonging and relationships.
So I want to back up from that, too, because especially if you don't have those protective factors in your life, and those protective factors are that sense of self-efficacy, those strong friendships and family relationships, support of family. So those protective factors are very important. So what I'm hearing you saying is that when you are diagnosed, that you need that even more so.
Yeah, I think we are saying that. Would you guys agree with that? That you really particularly when you're feeling vulnerable and like maybe you lost your job, maybe you lost your place where you're living.
Maybe you're looking for a job.
Maybe you're looking for a job.
Okay.
All those things you're feeling really kind of misplaced a little bit, and so you need that support of finding a place of belonging and caring people,
So those risk factors is what you're talking about, which is remember I talked about the protective factors and the risk factors. And the risk factors are the low economic status, or losing a job, or a chronic illness, or anything that happens in our life. If we don't have the protective factors in place, the family support and that self-esteem and that all of this other thing, the risk factors can kind of shake it, can really shake your foundation.
I can really relate to that. My family is like my second family, and my family at the Carriage House is my first family, because my family, if they knew I was giving this radio show right now and could hear what I'm talking about, they might not like it too much, And so I've had to kind of keep it a secret, but it's the best known secret to man, I think. So
wow.
So my family, they're supportive, but they don't really know what I do. I tell them I give talks, and that's what I do, but I don't go into detail about it because of the stigma.
Right. I get it. I do get it. Yeah. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. So,
I'll tell you what, can we start with hearing your stories? Who wants to go first?
You can go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. I was born and raised in Indianapolis, and
give us your name.
My name is Chris Bowman. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I was born and raised in Indianapolis, and at the age of 2 years old, my father molested me and gave me alcohol to deal with it, and so I eventually came to feel like I was an alcoholic based on what alcoholics go through. But I wet the bed, and I was the scapegoat for anything that happened in the family, and just blame it on Chris, So that was like my childhood was like. When I got older, my father had been in the Navy, so I decided I wanted to go in the Navy, and I went in the Navy, and I went through A school, and I went through let's see, I'm kind of
your time.
Forgot. I went through a spat of thinking about going in the Navy, so I decided to go in the Navy, and it was not good because someone molested me on the ship, and I just had to get out of there. And that's when I first had a suicide attempt. I saw the captain and the vice admiral in the captain's cabin, and they were kissing and touching each other, and I had to get out of there. So the next day I left the ship, and they found me. I took my shirt off, so somebody found my shirt, and I was walking in the middle of traffic and on a busy intersection, and so they came and got me. The police came and got me and took me to the psychiatric hospital, but which wasn't really a hospital, much of one. But the psychiatrist asked me why I did it, and I didn't know why I did it, because I had repressed all those feelings and thoughts and beliefs for a long time. I had repressed them, and I didn't really come to the realization of my illness until I was diagnosed in 1994 with schizoaffective disorder.
Now, how old were you when that happened?
I was
when you were finally diagnosed.
When I was finally diagnosed,
yes.
I was diagnosed. Well, they give you a diagnosis when you get ready to leave. It's just histrionic and personality disorder is what they gave me.
Okay.
And I was about 19 when that happened, and then after my time in the Navy, I went to school, finished school, and went to school and got my master's degree, and I was real proud of myself then, but it's like I did things to sabotage my illness, to sabotage my recovery, actually, and I shouldn't have been at such a high level of working in professional positions, but I did, and so I found out soon enough that it wasn't for me, and I got sick again, and I was put in the hospital for several days, and they let me out, and it's like when I got out of the Navy, they just let you go, and they just let you go when you're in the hospital, and they just let you go no matter how bad things are. But I had not revealed a lot of this stuff to them because I mean, how do you tell the Navy on the Navy,
Right.
I mean, they weren't going to listen. I knew that.
Good point. That's a very good point.
So, and then I found the Carriage House around that time, a little bit after that time, and the Carriage House has been a real blessing to me. I mean, everything I can say is good about the Carriage House. I don't know of anything that's negative, and one of the reasons why that is because we have commitment from staff like Gary, and we have other staff that really care about the members, and they want to help us in any way they can. So
that's wonderful. So would you please share that poem that you wrote? I love that poem.
It's called "She Was a Child." I saw a child smile wide today. It was an awesome sight. She watched me as I passed her way, but something wasn't right. You see, this child had been in pain, a pain she could not describe. The more you tried to talk to her, the more she'd run and hide. She ran and hid most of her life until the day she died. It seems no matter where she hid, while there she only cried. The funny thing about this tale, when she died, the child was still a child. Something inside the family failed and made that kid run wild. She ran so far, so hard, so long. She pushed it down when things went wrong. One day it all came back so quick. Running could not be the only trick. She found some pills, a rope, a knife. They found her body void of life. No one knew who that girl was, a statistic of black on white. Her parents didn't understand, but knew something wasn't right. Her death meant nothing for a long, long time, until there came a day when her brother captured a memory that had long since gone away. It seems he saw his sister in a most unusual place. She was sleeping with her father, but fear was on her face. After that, he understood why his sister took her life. The pain she felt was just too great. She was not her father's wife. She was a child.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I initially spoke with Gary, I said, we don't want to make this about just one organization, because there are many, many different support avenues that are here. But you guys have a very close connection with the Carriage House, and it seems like that's the foundation And so kind of talk to me about this, the Speakers Bureau, that because you guys, what you're doing here on the radio, sitting with me with the Fireside Chat, you do that to shed light in the community. Can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah, we'd be happy to. The Speakers Bureau started about, I think it started about 10 or 12 years ago, so it's been going on for a while at the Carriage House, and we've had various members over the years that have spoken throughout Allen County, actually, all different actually out of the county as well. We've spoken, I would just, let me venture a guess here, we probably speak maybe 12, 14, maybe more times a year, probably at least once a month, sometimes several times a month, don't we? Usually get out in the community and speak. And we do that for a couple reasons. One is to get the word out about this whole topic that Gena, you're bringing up. Yes. It's a really important topic that the Carriage House really believes we should discuss in public aspects like venues like this, where we can really talk about it openly and have good discussions around it. We do it for that reason, but we also do it for kind of as a healing thing for ourselves, because to tell your story it's kind of a way to like go back and gather things you've learned, things that you've processed during your recovery in dealing with the mental illness. So it can be a really healing thing. I think, wouldn't you guys say it's a healing thing for people to be?
Certainly.
Yeah. So I think most all of the people in the Speakers Bureau find it to be a really good thing to do for themselves, and it oftentimes. One of the things we do in Speakers Bureau is we share our stories first with our little Speakers Bureau group as kind of a practice, and that's always a real neat experience, because sometimes people feel like they're not public speakers and they really don't want to share their story. They're kind of like, well, my story is nothing special. But sometimes with a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of support, people share their story, and they indeed. It's amazing how powerful people's stories are, right? Even when they think their story isn't that nice or that great, or it might have some not so pretty parts to it. It's
and sometimes I think that's the power, though, because it's your story,
exactly,
and no one can tell your story but you. And
exactly.
I think that is, when I heard you guys speak, that is the most powerful part. But then even on top of that, when you share your stories, when I hear you say, please tell me your name again.
My name is Cassandra.
When I hear you say, Cassandra, that you had issues when you were a child, I work with youth, so there are many youth who have issues, and as you tell your stories, that may turn a light on for a parent or a grandparent or a young person to say, wait a second, maybe I need to take a step back. There's nothing wrong with me. Maybe because they get diagnosed in so many different ways. So that's a powerful thing to be able to tell your stories. Yeah. Where do you speak? Tell me something.
Well, actually, we just came from a speaking engagement today.
Did you?
Over lunchtime. Yeah, we were at retirement center for seniors, and they had a community luncheon, and we were there for about an hour and a half, and we kind of had a round table discussion. Some people presented their stories, and then we had a kind of a Q&A time, and it really was really nice. And so we've spoken at a variety of different places, schools, churches. We do quite a bit of work with the universities, Ivy Tech and IPFW, with different classes, just a kind of a variety of places. Anybody that would like to hear our message and hear Carriage House stories, you can contact us. And we have a website. I don't really know if I can remember what that website is.
The phone number is 423-4301.
There you go.
And the website is www.fortwayneclubhouse.org.
Thank you, Gena. Anybody's welcome to contact us, and we try to accommodate different groups and different needs that people might have around what we could provide for them. So,
awesome. That's good. That's good. So, Cassandra, can you share your story with us?
I will share bits of it.
Okay. Whatever you're
I'm not going to get into like the traumatic part, but as some of my friends have revealed, I've had a lot of traumatic events. I think that has a little bit to do with some of it, but I'm not sure that some of it isn't like chemical imbalances and things like that. And plus, I've been hit in the head a lot when I was younger. But my story basically is my mental illness has affected my life to the point to where I struggle to hold on to a job. I struggle to have healthy relationships. And I didn't really know how to fix it. You know, my parents didn't know how to fix it until we got here. And then, you know, I started getting some really good treatment and, you know, some medications or whatnot. And then I found the Clubhouse, and that's what's helped me realize that my mental illness isn't actually something wrong. It's more like a gift to me. Because this is the way that I perceive it and I see it, but it's put me more in tune with like other human beings who struggle with things. I feel like I can pick it up, you know?
Yes.
And my thing is I just love to help people feel better about who they are, because we are all beautiful. And when people don't think that they are, or they, you know, either beat themselves up, or other people have, or, you know, whatever the case may be, my thing is people need to know that they're really beautiful, no matter what it looks like and what your circumstance is. Because when you have a struggle and you have a good support system and guidance, that's what it's all about to me, you know. Like you said, Gary, the connection. And if we'd spend more time lifting each other up, mental illness or not, I think that can help our society. So I'm still learning, though. I love things like this. I really appreciate you having us on here. But I could talk about mental health all day. So.
I'm learning that I can, too. So that's cool. Well, guys, what else would you like to share about your stories, or I'm going to say the Carriage House, or what goes on there? I actually had a group last year on with the Carriage House.
There's a work order day. That basically at 9 o'clock we have a meeting, and at 1 o'clock we have a meeting, and to set up what people are going to do for the day, or what they're going to do for a little while or something. And they help people find jobs, temporary employment, or what's the other one, Gary?
Assisted employment.
Assisted employment. So, you know, I just thank God, and I'm a born-again Christian, but I thank God that I had this opportunity to speak to your listeners. So,
Hi, I'm Diane Hagen. I would like to talk to you about our wrecks, because we're not all, it's no fun in games. Wrecks are Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Monday and Wednesday we stay in-house and do things around the house. We play games, we play board games, we play euchre, and we play video games, and then we go out in the community on Saturday. This Saturday is bowling.
Okay, thank you. Getting bold over there. Yes.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes on at the Carriage House. It's not just business, it's fun as well.
Right.
That's a support system. How are individuals allowed to join the Carriage House? What's the process?
Yeah, it's really a pretty simple process. The only qualification for membership is you have to be 18 years old or older, and you must have a diagnosed mental illness. And do I have that right? That's really the only two.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
right.
Really the only two things that qualify a person for membership. And once you are there for several times in a row, and we kind of get to know you. Then you become an official member, and one of the really nice things about Carriage House membership is it's for a lifetime. So let's say you move out of the city or and you come back, you can come right back to the Carriage House and you're always a member. Everybody's always welcome, no matter what stage of life you're in or where you might be at. So it's a lifetime membership.
And I have to share this. It is an accredited clubhouse helping people with serious mental illness recover their lives. So being an and it's an international clubhouse, which means there are clubhouses around the world. So if you travel, are you allowed to attend other clubhouses that say that if someone travels to Savannah, Georgia, I know that there's a clubhouse model there. Are they allowed to participate? Or are they members automatically there? Do you know?
You know, that's an excellent question. Do any of you know about that? I think your membership is in the clubhouse where you originate at, but you're always welcome at another clubhouse, no matter where it's at in the U.S. or the world. I think I have that right.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to add something to that. Something really cool that we do, too, because this is a worldwide movement, is we attend conferences, the staff and member, and you go to other clubhouses around the world, and you guys get together and you talk about different things, and you could see how they do things. But it's a really good experience because it is such a big movement. You know, it makes me feel good to go to these places because I can see that, you know, it's being done all over the world.
It's not just a little bitty Fort Wayne,
right?
Huh?
And, it's just a really good experience to be able to go there and get information about Clubhouse.
Okay. Yeah. Were you getting ready to say something?
Yes, I was able to go to the international conference in Detroit, and I learned a lot and brought it back to our clubhouse.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to him.
So I want to talk about just share the things, the organizations that the clubhouse are affiliated with. That's of course Clubhouse International, NAMI, which is the Fort Wayne National Alliance on Mental Health, Park Center Mental Health, and Clubhouse Indiana. And I wasn't aware that there was a difference between Clubhouse Indiana and Clubhouse International. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. You guys have anything else to share?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What if you, like, do you know somebody who suffers from any kind of mental illness? And, like, you seem like you're very, very passionate about it.
So I work in the field, but I also realized probably, several years after working in the field that there are individuals within my family who have a mental illness. It has never been diagnosed, and that is, I think, where my passion is, because working in the field, I see through different eyes than just the eyes of a clinician. I see from the eyes of a person who actually has lived some of the things that you're talking about. And so eventually, this is your day, but eventually I want to tell that story, bits and pieces of that story as well.
I'd really like to hear that.
Yeah. So, and I think each of us has something. I know everybody has a story, but each of us, if we don't have someone in our family, we know someone who does, who has suffered from a mental illness, and we may look at it as though something is just not right there. But not having a diagnosis, it's a unique thing.
I'm always interested when we go out into the community and speak that almost 100% of the time, there's always people that come up after we speak, and what we share really resonates with them. They're either asking for help with a family member or with themselves, or maybe they're not quite ready to come out on what they're dealing with in their own life. But we have so many people come to us and say, thanks for being open, thanks for sharing your life story, and it does help other people connect to what's going on in their life with a family member or a friend, and so I think that's one of the best things we do about Speakers Bureau is allowing other people to get in touch with what they're struggling with.
Right. So it's reciprocal.
Exactly.
It's I'm getting the word out as I'm healing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's probably what this radio program does for me. As I shared with you, this was new. I knew nothing about the boards, but I know I like to talk. As a matter of fact, growing up, it's like, can you please be quiet? because I always had something to say. So this is natural, the talking part. And so connecting to people is building community one interview at a time is really, truly it's embedded in me, I do think. Yeah. Right.
Well, I sure appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. You are very nurturing. So, guys, what else? Is there anything else you want to share before we move on?
I don't think so. I just really appreciate this opportunity to speak. If anybody out there is welcome to contact the Carriage House. We don't proclaim to be experts, but we oftentimes can find people that can help, with a particular question or concern. We can't do everything, but we can point people in the right direction, and try to be a support for everyone out there that might be either themselves or a family member struggling with a mental illness. So, yeah.
Yes.
I actually have something that I wanted to bring up. It's like a little loophole in the mental health system.
Go for it.
So it's something that I'm going through right now. I know another individual who clearly has symptoms of a mental illness. But the problem is he or she is in denial about it, and they refuse treatment, even though something's going on. And there's this like crack where, well, unless this person harms themselves or someone else, we really can't help you. But I know this person struggles with mental issues. I'm not sure because he's undiagnosed, he or she, sorry. So I just wish that we could talk about that too, because I care about this person very deeply. They're older, they've never had any kind of treatment, and they're just basically willowing away, is that the right word, to nothing. And when I look at that person's life, I'm like, what could we have done to help this person? And, I'm kind of I don't know what to do, but it's a problem where there's a lot of people out there suffering with this stuff, and they don't even realize it, or maybe they are ashamed of it, or, they don't know who to go to. So, I don't know, it's a hard thing to deal with, to have somebody tell you, well, unless they hurt themselves or others, we can't really help you.
Right. But then they have the right to choose. And we never want to take away anybody's right to choose. But you know what? That is another reason why I am really excited about this show, this Fourth Friday. Perhaps we can get some professionals on that can speak to that, because that's an important component, and so that we hear and give voice to everybody at every level, voice and education and support at every level, because it's awesome to hear your stories. It's powerful to hear your stories, but for us to be able to hear the stories and the from a clinician, from a professional level, that's just as powerful, and so that's okay. So those are things that we will eventually get into. Those topics are very important.
Yeah.
Have you guys addressed that in your Speakers Bureau meeting?
No, it's a good topic. I mean, the whole thing about individual choice, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people that don't get help or don't have somebody intervene in their life end up in prison, jail, or homeless. And so it's a very tough thing. I think our entire country struggles with this very issue. How should we respond when we see an obvious need, but we also want to protect people's freedoms, their right to choose, their right to seek out the kind of treatment that they want. And so it's a quite a complex issue. But it makes it hard on those of us, like Cassandra said, it makes it hard on all of us that care, because we don't want something to happen that's not, we don't want a tragedy to happen, And
so if anyone is listening and has some feedback and would be willing to come on and talk about that, I would love to be contacted right here at 95.7 WELT to come on and give your professional to come on and give your professional feedback on that topic, on how can we, you said it really well. How would you say that again? How can we
fill in the crack, I guess.
Yeah. Or for someone who may need some assistance but may not want the assistance, or may not really recognize that I need that help. Yeah, so very good topic. Good question. Yeah. Good question. So these are the things we're going to be talking about right here every fourth Friday. I'll have guests come in as I have today. I thank you guys so much for your time coming in.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your boldness over there. I want to read this quote. It says, "Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter." That is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.